Here is something that doesn't get said enough. Modern medicine is astonishing, but it is not finished. And there are people walking around right now with conditions so strange that the smartest doctors in the world can only shrug and admit they genuinely do not know what is going on. I find that thrilling and a little humbling, so let me walk you through some of the cases that keep specialists up at night. And I promise you, by the end of this, you will look at the human body completely differently. Let's start with a condition that sounds made up but absolutely is not. There are people who wake up one morning, open their mouths to say good morning, and out comes a foreign accent. Not a deliberate impression, not a bad joke, an actual accent they have never had. A woman in one country goes to sleep speaking her native tongue and wakes up sounding like she was raised 3,000 miles away. It is called foreign accent syndrome, and here is the part that gets me. The person isn't really speaking a new language. What happens is a tiny disruption, sometimes a small stroke, sometimes a head injury, sometimes nothing we can find on a scan at all, changes the rhythm and the placement of the tongue just enough that our ears interpret it as a different accent. We can describe it. We cannot fully explain why it lands on a specific accent or why some people recover and others never do. Now picture this one. You are lying in bed, drifting off, completely peaceful, and suddenly you hear an enormous explosion inside your own head. A bomb, a gunshot, a crack of lightning, except there is no sound in the room at all. It is called exploding head syndrome, which is a terrible name for something that is, mercifully, painless. The leading idea is that as your brain powers down for sleep, the neurons that are supposed to switch off all at once instead misfire in a little burst, and your brain interprets that misfire as a deafening noise. But that is a best guess. We do not have a clean answer for why it happens, why it comes and goes, or why some people get it once and others get it for years. Here is one that genuinely changes how a person experiences reality. Some patients, often children, describe the world around them suddenly warping. Their hands look gigantic. The doorway down the hall seems miles away. Time itself feels like it is speeding up or crawling. It is nicknamed Alice in Wonderland Syndrome, and yes, it is named exactly after the book, because the descriptions are almost identical to falling down the rabbit hole. We have linked it to migraines and certain infections, but here is the honest truth. We do not fully understand why the brain distorts size and distance in this specific, dreamlike way. The eyes are working perfectly. It is the interpretation that bends. Let me hit you with one that crosses into the truly eerie. There is a condition where a person becomes utterly convinced that they are dead. Not depressed, not speaking metaphorically, actually convinced their body is a corpse, that their organs are rotting, sometimes that they no longer exist at all. It is called Cotard's delusion, the walking corpse syndrome, and the people experiencing it will calmly argue with you that they do not need to eat because dead people do not eat. We can sometimes treat it. We can sometimes link it to other conditions. But the deeper question, how a healthy brain can construct such a complete and unshakable belief in its own death, is something we are still circling. Now, I want to be careful and respectful here because this next one causes real suffering. There are patients who report fibers, threads, almost crawling sensations underneath and out of their skin. It is called Morgellons and it has divided doctors for years. Some are convinced it is purely a skin manifestation of a psychological condition. Others insist there is a physical process we have not identified yet. The point I want you to take away is not which side is right. The point is that medicine still has open arguments, real ones, about conditions that affect real people, and pretending we have it all figured out helps nobody. Here is a strange one that sounds almost like a superpower until you realize how disabling it is. Some people are, for lack of a better term, allergic to water. Their own sweat, a shower, rain, sometimes even their own tears trigger painful hives. It is called aquagenic urticaria, and think about how baffling that is. Water makes up most of your body. You are mostly water, and yet contact with it on the skin sets off an immune reaction we cannot fully account for. It is extraordinarily rare, and the underlying mechanism is still mostly a mystery. People who live with it have to plan their entire day around something the rest of us never think about for a single second. And that alone should make you grateful for the boring, reliable miracle of an ordinary shower. Let me give you one that sounds like science fiction. There are documented cases of people who get drunk without drinking a single sip of alcohol. They eat a normal meal full of carbohydrates, and their own gut, colonized by a particular type of yeast, ferments those carbs into alcohol inside their digestive system. It is called autobrewery syndrome, and imagine trying to explain that to a police officer who has just pulled you over. We understand the rough idea of how it works, but why it suddenly develops in certain people, and why the yeast takes over the way it does, is still being pieced together. Now here is a condition that messes with the most basic thing you own, which is the feeling that your own arm belongs to you. In some patients, usually after specific brain surgery or injury, one hand seems to develop a will of its own. It will unbutton a shirt the other hand just buttoned. It will reach for objects without permission. The person is fully aware it is their hand and they are horrified, but they cannot consistently control it. It is called alien hand syndrome, and it cuts right to the heart of one of the deepest mysteries in all of medicine, which is how the brain creates the sense of you being the one in charge. Let me slow down for one that is heartbreaking and fascinating in equal measure. There are individuals who sleep for days, sometimes weeks, at a time. They wake briefly, confused, childlike, ravenously hungry, and then collapse back into sleep, sometimes losing huge stretches of their lives to these episodes. It is sometimes called sleeping beauty syndrome. We can describe the pattern. We can sometimes manage it. But the trigger, the off switch that gets stuck, remains poorly understood, and it tends to strike young people in the prime of their lives. And here is one more because I cannot resist. Some people, after a stroke or an injury, completely deny that anything is wrong with a part of their body that is clearly paralyzed. You can lift their unmoving arm in front of their face and ask them whose it is, and they will calmly tell you it belongs to someone else or insist they can move it perfectly. The brain is, in a sense, editing out the damage. We have names for this. We have brain regions we point to. But the sheer fact that a mind can refuse to see its own broken body is something that still stuns the people who study it for a living. So what do I want you to take from all of this? Not fear. The vast majority of these conditions are incredibly rare, and you are almost certainly fine. What I want you to take away is a sense of wonder and maybe a little patience with the doctors and researchers in your life. Because here is the honest reality of medicine. We have mapped the genome, we can transplant a heart, we can image a living brain in motion, and we still bump into the edges of what we understand on a regular basis. That is not a failure, that is the frontier. Every one of these baffling cases is a question the human body is asking, and somewhere out there, someone is going to spend their entire career answering just one of them. If any of these stories made the back of your neck tingle, stick around because the body has a lot more secrets